This video is made possible by donations to the United States Lighthouse Society from people like you.
We're here at the museum at Portland Headlight. This used to be the lighthouse keeper's house. I'm here with Jean Gross. She's the director of the Portland Headlight Museum. If you could just explain a little bit about what you do here, that would be awesome.
Well, I take care, I maintain the museum, and we have a gift shop here. And that's my job, to oversee both pieces of the operation. And this is owned and operated by the town of Cape Elizabeth.
Could you tell us a little bit about him?
Yeah, this is Joseph Strout. He and his father were stationed here for over 65 years. And he was the gregarious one. He would go out and he'd welcome visitors to it and explain all the operations of a lighthouse. And he and his father, sort of a dynasty here at Portland Headlight. And they had a parrot, Billy, who lived to be about as long as they were here as keeper and assistant keeper for the 65 years.
So how did the shipwreck happen?
Well, the story goes, but no one really knows the accurate picture of what happened, but the ship was coming in and it was going to dock in Portland, and somehow either a quick snow squall came up and the captain lost his sense of direction and steered the wrong way. It hit the rocks here next to the lighthouse. Everybody got off the ship safely. The keeper here at the time and his son were able to put a ladder out across the rocks, and all the passengers and the crew, well, there weren't any passengers, the crew were able to crawl across the ladder into safety at the lighthouse, and they spent the night there with the keeper and his wife.
Christmas miracle.
We have a scuba diver who's dives out here on a regular basis, and about 20 years ago I sort of met up with him, and he told me he had these artifacts, and I was really interested in seeing them, so he brought them by, donated them to the museum, and he would dive right off here where the Maguire hit the rocks on Christmas Eve in 1886. And originally when he was diving, he found the keel. The whole keel was down there, and then he just found some of these other little bits and pieces of it. And while he was diving out there, he would say that most of the ship just completely had dissolved and floated away.
So Jean, is there anything interesting or special about this lens right here?
Well, this one was manufactured in France, and it was shipped here, and when they pack it, they put them in crates with straw and everything, piece by piece, and once it gets to the place where it's going to find a home, it's assembled there on the spot. So this is a second order lens, and this Portland Headlight has been adjusted over the years from a shorter position to a higher one, and when this was in the taller size, they installed a second order Fresnel lens. And then they shortened the lighthouse and they put a fourth order back into it. So this one has been assembled, taken apart, assembled, taken apart. And you can see the wear and tear on the lens with some of these chips and things like this. But Fresnel lenses in general were a wonderful invention for lighthouses because it just made the light much more powerful.
So this is a very interesting picture up here. It looks like some treacherous work being done. Could you explain a little bit about what's happening in this photo up here?
Well, I really admire this photo because it really captures the essence of how dangerous a lot of the work that the keepers were doing. That one shows them on the outside of the lantern room, scraping ice off the glass. You can see all the dripping icicles that are coming down from there. And he's getting up there with the scraper trying to clear the glass, because part of the job was to make sure that light could be seen no matter what the conditions were. So even in a storm like that, he was expected to go out and clean the ice off the outside of the lantern room. So that's kind of dangerous, I would think, because he doesn't have ropes or any kind of safety harness on in that picture either. And then during the summer ones, they're expected to hang from that same railing and paint the lighthouse with a paintbrush in one hand and a bucket in the other. And a lighthouse is quite large. That was their summer work to do during the daytime.
Yeah, I feel like we tend to think about lighthouses during the sunny and beautiful nice times and forget about all the other work that went into maintaining and keeping the light. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow is a famous American poet that lived in Portland for much of his life and spent a lot of time at the lighthouse. He wrote the poem The Lighthouse, which was inspired by Portland Headlight, and he spent a lot of time out here, specifically on his favorite rock, which I'm sitting on right now. So we're standing here in Portland Headlight, and off on the horizon we can see a couple lighthouses. There's Halfway Rock Lighthouse way out there. There's Ram Island Ledge Light right here. There's Spring Point Ledge Light down there. Across the way this way, there's Twin Lights. And on a clear day way out in the distance, you can see Seguin Light. This is the lighthouse that made me fall in love with lighthouses. I used to run here and walk here and sit out on the rocks and just look at it, look out at the water, and it was just a peaceful place to be. We're out here on the Watchroom Gallery. It's an absolutely incredible view in every direction you could look. The lighthouse is not always open to the public, but there's a special day in September called Maine Open Lighthouse Day, where you can get inside the lighthouse, you can walk around, and you can see these incredible views as well. So we're inside Spring Point Ledge Lighthouse. We're actually in the galley area, as you can see. I'm here with Art Green. He is the chair of the Spring Point Ledge Lighthouse Trust, and he's going to tell us a little bit about what we're looking at and what we have going on here.
Well, this is Spring Point Ledge Light. It was built, it's sitting on a ledge, and it was the main reason that this was here. Low tide, it was only a matter of inches below, so it's been the product of a number of wrecks. So they built this in 1897. What is unique about it, a number of things. It's a double wall brick structure. It's a caisson style lighthouse. There are 3 caisson style lighthouses still in Maine. There's, of course, there's one in Goose Rocks, and there's one in Lubeck Channel. What's unique about this is in 1950 they put the breakwater in to mitigate the storm surge for the marina, so you can walk to this. This is the only lighthouse of this style and design that you can walk to. So it's a 900-foot walk.
So like you said, when the keepers were here, the breakwater wasn't yet here. So how did the keepers get to and from the light?
If we go up above, in some of the old postcards, you'll see there's dories on each side. There's boat davits on each. This is part of one here, and there's some rope on the other. They'd have to lower the dory. One would have to stay here while the other went to shore, pick up items or take a break. So one had to stay here at all times. So it was a row.
So did families live here with the keepers?
This lighthouse is considered a stag lighthouse, where there was just a keeper and his assistant, being a small area. Unlike Portland had light, where they had the duplex, and there was 2 families actually living there. So being a stag lighthouse, it's usually the case, just the keeper and his assistant. Very small quarters,
Yes.
as you can see. Here we are at the keepers. The first level is the keeper's quarters. And from the beginning, when we received this from the Coast Guard, it was automated. There was no furniture, there was nothing in here. So we had to add some pieces. I'm sure there was probably a cot here, not a spool-type bed. It's probably pretty basic stuff that was in here. But we have added some items.
All right, so I see something about Gus Wilson over here. Who is he and what is he famous for?
Well, Gus Wilson, in most lighthouses, the keepers and the assistants would find things to do when they weren't maintaining the light and servicing the station. So Gus would carve these decoys. He'd buy a pocket knife, Boy Scout pocket knife in the hardware store in Portland. He'd carve these out using old paint from automobile paint. He'd rough it up and paint the ducts. Now he would sell them for 75 cents a piece, or he'd give them away to friends. And they've become quite collector's items now. One went to auction back in 2020 for 6 figures, so
wow.
Gus didn't see that, I'm sure.
Yeah. So what are we looking at on this level?
This level is for the assistant's quarters. As you can see, it's pretty basic. He has no privacy, unlike the keeper, where they have a door and some privacy. Anything going on, they had to go up through a ladder through his space here. He's got porthole windows, not the double hung sashed windows. He's got one little closet. So there was an incentive to move up to keeper's level. As you notice all the way through the tower here, there's this pole in the middle. Inside this is a couple 100-pound weights that had to be cranked up to turn the clockwork for the mechanism to turn the light, as well as strike the bell. But the light had a separate, it was a weight that came through the smaller hole. Inside here is the weight for the bell.
So this is an amazing exhibit. All floors are very cool, packed with information. Are you open to the public?
Yes, we are, because the last couple of years with the pandemic, we were unable to actually do anything. This opening to the public, we charge $5 a person to come through here, and that supports the lighthouse. And needless to say, the last couple of years, that was non-existent. We are opening tomorrow, celebrating our 125th anniversary of the light being lit. So through the summer here, as long as we can get the volunteers, which is kind of a challenge in itself, we'll have the tours open. You can check on our website.
here at Portland Breakwater Light. I'm here with Jack Roberts, who's going to tell us a little bit about what's going on here and what makes this lighthouse unique.
It's been a real labor of love. We've done it for, as I say, since 1989. We've had contributions from numerous people that have helped us out. When we do open it up, we have a bucket out front for donations, and people are usually pretty generous. We've opened it up for school tours occasionally. We've put approximately $150,000 into fixing it up. It may not sound like a lot, but a lot of that money was early on, so it's, in today's dollars, it would be a lot more. I think our most recent project was replacing the Ascandia leaves that are on top of the Corinthian columns. The leaves were taken off when they put the house on. Originally, the breakwater came out of the lighthouse, and the keeper's quarters was on shore, which was about 2,000 feet away. In the middle of the winter, that is a long hike.
Yes.
And so they put that, when they attached the house, the leaves came off two of the columns where they could attach it. And had no idea what happened to them, but the columns were really very plain and rather unsightly. So we managed to, some of the guys from the club, we found somebody that could cast the pieces for us. So we took the pieces off from another column, took them out to Standish, to the foundry. They created the leaves and we put them back on. The materials for that were $8,000. But speaking of donations, we had a gentleman that preferred to remain anonymous, so I won't mention his name, but he asked us a few years ago, was there any particular project that we wanted to do, but we just didn't have the funding for it? And we told him the leaves. He reached into his pocket, grabbed his checkbook, and wrote a check for $4,000.
That's awesome.
So it's people like that that really make the difference. But we've had a number of people that have donated anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 or more. And we do put a little plaque out on the walkway recognizing people that have done that. So we try to make sure we're giving credit to everybody that should have credit.
Walking up, there's certainly a distinctive architecture to this lighthouse, much different than a lot of other ones. So where does that come from?
It is absolutely unique. It's designed after the Karadzic Monument in Lysistrata, Greece, and I'm not sure I pronounced that correct, but it was an old ancient theater monument. And it still stands, it's still over there. That is in really rough shape apparently. We've had people that have come here that have gone there to look at that and then have come back and told us. So yeah, it's unique. There's nothing else anywhere that looks like it.
Definitely.
It's got the Greek columns, it's got the denton and the acroteria around the top.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So where does the nickname Bug Light come from then?
Again, it's just lost in history. There's a number of lighthouses that are small, called Bug Light. Originally, this lighthouse had a 6-aughter Fresnel lens, and in World War II, the light was taken out. They took the lights, sort of darkened them all on the East Coast so that the German U-boats couldn't key in on them. Well, during the war, all of the land that's now the park was filled in to build 2 shipyards who put out the Liberty ships in the war effort. So after the war was over, there was no longer a breakwater that needed to be protected for the ships. They had modern navigation, and so it didn't really need a light, but a lighthouse without a light is not a lighthouse. So we particularly, with the help of Spring Point Ledge Light Trust and the Rotary Club and the city, we petitioned the Coast Guard to allow us to put a private aid to navigation in. And it's a 250 millimeter solar lamp. Looking back towards the oil tanks, you can see where the breakwater goes as far as where the South Portland boat landing is. But it used to go all the way to about approximately where the oil tanks are. And it was water on both sides. The keeper originally had to crawl in the whole distance. Then they finally attach the house out front here. And then around 1935, it was removed because it was in bad repair.
So can we go outside here?
You promise to be careful?
I'll always be careful.
Okay, take it easy. when you're outside with the waves, you almost feel like you're moving.
Moving?
Yeah.
Okay. We're here at Cushing's Point Museum, where there's a ton of great history on the shipyard as well as the local lighthouses in the area. So we're in the lighthouse exhibit inside the museum, where there's a ton of great information, photos, but most specifically there's a ton of information on all the keepers and their families and all the people that were behind what happened at these lighthouses. So here we are at the Portland Observatory, which was built in 1807. While it looks like a lighthouse, it is not. However, it does serve a similar purpose. From the top, you can see out into the harbor, and they would fly different flags on top to indicate which ships were coming into the harbor. It's a super cool spot, great views from the top. It is open to the public. You can climb to the top and get just breathtaking panoramic views of the Casco Bay. Standing here at the Eastern Promenade in Portland, right in front of this monument for George Cleves, who was the founder of Portland. As you can see, the Eastern Promenade is a beautiful place to be, a great place for a picnic, a quick bite. There's a ton of food trucks lined up here, and just a great place to hang out and see some of the coast, all the sailboats that are out there now.